Well, the focus is Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a Democrat from Minnesota, a freshman member of Minnesota. This is her from a recent event here in Washington, speaking about comments she and other Muslims have made about Israel and how they're interpreted.
And what I am fearful of is that because Rashida and I are Muslim, that a lot of our Jewish colleagues, a lot of our constituents, a lot of our allies go to thinking that everything we say about Israel to being anti-Semitic because we are Muslim. And so to me, it's something that becomes designed to end the debate, because you get in this space of, yes, right, like I know what intolerance looks like, and I'm sensitive when someone says the words you use, Ilhan, are resemblance of intolerance. And I am cautious of that, and I feel pained by that. But it almost as if every single time we say something, regardless of what it is we say, that is supposed to be about foreign policy, our engagement, our advocacy about ending oppression, or the freeing of every human life and wanting dignity, we get to be labeled in something, and that ends the discussion because we end up defending that, and nobody ever gets to have the broader debate of what is happening with Palestine. So for me, I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay for people to push for allegiance to a foreign country. I want to ask, why is it okay for me to talk about the influence of the NRA, of fossil fuel industries, or big pharma, and not talk about a powerful lobbying group that is influencing policy?
And since some of those comments, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has become the focus of this effort that has caused a rift inside the Democratic caucus. As David Hawkins of the Firewall noted, two of her largest defenders on Capitol Hill, two of her most vocal defenders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib was sitting next to her during that clip you just saw. Paul Kane, in his wrap-up of what's going on inside the Democratic caucus today in the Washington Post, notes the defense of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib. He also notes that Democratic unity might be determined by how this saga ends, particularly on major issues like climate change and health care and potential constitutional showdowns with Donald Trump. Ocasio-Cortez, of course, has become the face of the Green New Deal, the loosely defined umbrella effort to reduce carbon emissions. Tlaib has emerged as one of the highest profile voices demanding the impeachment of President Trump, something that she reiterated again at a news conference Wednesday morning. If you want to read Paul Kane's column on how this rift has fractured the Democratic caucus, today's Washington Post is the place to look for that. Grant is up next here in D.C. Our question, Grant, is should Congress police its own members' speech?
Yeah, I just have to say I live in D.C., but I'm from Minnesota, and I just could not agree more with what Ilhan Omar is doing. The reason she's under fire is that she's dared to open up a discussion about the Israel lobby, and specifically AIPAC, and its capture of Congress through orchestration of campaign contributions. So she's raising that issue. She's trying to speak about it in a way that members of Congress, and by the way, most of her party, is not in agreement with the massive amount of foreign aid given to Israel, et cetera. But she's trying to talk about the regulatory capture of Congress. And when you think about it, signs of it are all over the place. In the last 5 years, members of Congress have made 1,400 privately funded trips to Israel versus 2,500 to all other countries on this planet. And so you have to ask yourself, What is it that she's trying to raise here that's at all controversial and not verifiable? Members of Congress don't want to talk about this. They don't want to talk about how campaign contributions they receive are tied to their support. And so it's very easy for them to come down hard on Omar. But what they should really be asking themselves is, why are they so beholden to this that they're going so crazy over this issue?
Grant, one question for you. Where do you go for your information about congressional delegation trips abroad and to Israel and to other countries?
Well, I always go to the Israel Lobby and American Policy.org, which is an annual conference at the National Press Club that talks about these things. I go to antiwar.com, and there's a great article there called "Do Members of Congress Take Too Many Private Trips to Israel with AIPAC?" And full disclosure, I wrote it.
That's Grant in Washington, D.C. Joe is next.